Setting up security in Business Plus Accounting is a two-step process. First of all, you'll define and set up your master password, which will allow administrators access into every option in the software. Then you'll set up your passwords for modules, which allows you to specify which modules you want to be password protected and which employees you want to have access to those modules. First, let's look at the master password option. If you already have a master password defined on your system, you'll be prompted for the current master password. If you don't have a master password already, the software will bring you up to this prompt where you can enter a new master password. You'll enter your password and then verify your password, and you've now set a master password for the software. Again, this password will work at any time you're prompted for a password, with the exception of a cache drawer password, because then it wouldn't be able to log it against a specific cache drawer. But anywhere else in the software where it prompts for a password, you can key in the master password and get into that module. Next, let's look at the password for modules option. First, you'll be prompted to enter the system master password, and then setting up your passwords for modules involves a couple of different steps. First of all, you will assign modules to users, which allows you to specify for each employee which options in the software they have access to. And secondly, you'll activate module passwords, which specifies which of the modules you want to do password security checking on. So let's take a look first at the assign modules to users option. You'll key in your employee password here, or rather you'll key in your employee ID, and you'll see that employee come up with a list of all of the modules that are available in the software. You can then specify for that employee which options you want him to have access to. Now please note that the software will not check to see if an employee is enabled for a password or for that module or not, unless that module is first enabled to be password protected. So after looking at this, the screen where you can assign for an employee which modules you want them to have access to, let's take a look at the other step, which again is here in the Activate Module Passwords. When you select Activate Module Passwords, you'll see each module in the software, and you'll be prompted for an entry of whether or not security checking will be enabled in that module. For any module that you specify enabled for the module password, the next time that an employee tries to use that module, the software will prompt them for a password. They will key in their password, and then if you have enabled them for that module, they'll be able to get in. Please note that if you do not enter enabled for a module password in this screen, it doesn't matter how you've defined that employee's access, because the software will not check unless you mark a specific module as enabled. Once you've set those up, the software will log all of the logins to keep track of which employees are using which passwords to get into modules of the software. You can view that information here in the employee login log. And finally, you can set the password security level. Password security level determines whether or not a user is required to enter a password every time he enters a module, or just the first time that he enters the module in a session of Business Plus Accounting. If, for example, you want a customer or an employee to be able to log in, go into the customer orders module, and then continue to get into that module without having to enter the password, then you would select no here, which allows subsequent entries without password re-entry. If you want to force them to enter that password each time they select the customer orders module, then you can select yes, and it will always force you to enter that password. The last step in defining your passwords is to define your employee passwords, and your employees can do this themselves from the System Tools menu. They can select Assign Password, they'll key in their employee ID number, and then they'll be prompted for their current password if they already have a password. If they do not have a password, then they won't be prompted for any password, and they can just enter in the new password. If an employee has forgotten his password, then as the administrator you can enter the management password, the master password, into the current password field, and then you'll be able to change the new password to whatever you want that password to be.